Chapter 188, A Groundless Disaster. This chapter is updated by novels.pl. Junior fellow apprentice Jang, now warriors in the whole Devil Marshal City are all saying that you've reached the ultimate realm of the Black Realm. I really admire people like you who are extraordinary geniuses. When I was in the Black Realm, I could only rank 12th on the profound board. It's really far from the ultimate realm. Chen Xie had a good personality. She was a cheerful and talkative person. Her smile never left her face. Her blue pupils were sparkling with dazzling light, as if they were a pair of gems. The small bell pinned on her bun made regular and melodious sounds as she walked. Walking alongside her would make the other person feel as if his cheeks were being caressed by a gentle spring breeze. Zhang Yuochen said, "It's just a rumor. Reaching the ultimate realm of the Black Realm is no easy feat." Chen Xie nodded gently in agreement. She also did not believe that Zhang Yuochen could reach the ultimate realm, but she would never say it aloud. Keeping the sweet smile on her face, she said, "In the Black Realm, if your top speed surpasses 75 meters per second, your name will be recorded in the history of the School of the Martial Market." Judging from junior brother Zhang's innate talent, even if you haven't reached the ultimate realm of the Black Realm, you're still qualified to be recorded in the history. Am I right? Chen Xie beat round the bush, trying to find out Zhang Yuochen's current top speed. No matter what kind of martial art it was, if it was fast enough, then it would be invincible. Of course, there were some exceptions. In most cases, the faster their warrior, the stronger he would be. Had Zhang Yuochen surpassed 75 meters per second, the number one genius in 36 commanderies of the Omen Ridge, Zhang Tangai, had only achieved 73 meters per second as his best record in the Black Realm. From Chen Xie's point of view, Zhang Yuochen was almost on par with Zhang Tangai in terms of talent. It was unlikely for him to beat Zhang Tangai's speed, reaching 75 meters per second. Zhang Yuochen pretended that he did not understand her implication. There was no way he could tell her that his top speed had already reached 80 meters per second. If Chen Xie were to know about this, she would be completely flabbergasted. After all, in the whole late antiquity, there were only 9 people who could reach the speed of 80 meters per second in the Black Realm. It can be said that Zhang Yuochen was the 10th person to have such speed in 10,000 years. Seeing that Zhang Yuochen did not reply, Chen Xie asked again, "I'm very curious about one thing. Now that junior fellow apprentice has already reached the peak of the completion of the Black Realm, why don't you proceed to the Earth Realm?" Zhang Yuochen said, "It's may not a good thing to break through the martial arts realms so fast. I want to take some time to settle down and refine my genuine chi so that my foundation will become more solid. It's not too late to break through the Earth Realm by then." "I see. That's how it is." Chen Xie nodded her head gently. Then, she added on with a bright smile, saying, "With junior brother apprentice Zhang's talent, you indeed should further solidify your foundation and try to break through the Heaven Realm before 30 years old." At some point during their conversation, the two had arrived at the Merit Tower. Zhang Yuochen spent 3 drops of half-saint's essence in exchange for 600 merits. When he walked out of the Merit Tower, he noticed that Chen Xie had stayed behind and was waiting outside for him. As for Blackie, it had gone missing. Zhang Yuochen did not worry about Blackie. It was pretty smart compared to an ordinary savage beast. He believed it would do just fine even in the internal academy of the School of the Martial Market. Chen Xie did not ask Zhang Yuochen how many merits were exchanged, but instead, she said, "Junior brother apprentice Zhang, as you already know, every time you enter the secret room to practice, you need to spend 100 points. You can use the room for half a month. Also, if Huo Sheng and Zhao Minggong dare to find fault with you again, you can come to me. I'll help you to kick their ass." "Thank you so much, senior sister apprentice Chen." Zhang Yuochen said, immediately expressed his gratitude. Obviously, Zhang Yuochen would not actually go to Chen Xie. After all, they were just strangers who had met by chance. In fact, they had only met twice. They could hardly be labeled as friends. With a beaming smile on her face, she said, "Since you're my cousin-in-law, there's no need to be so polite. Anyway, I have things to attend to, so I'll leave first. Let's meet again some other time. Staring at Chen Xia's graceful figure that was gradually disappearing from his sight, a gloomy feeling loomed over Zhang Yuochen. At first, he had a good impression of Chen Xia. She was very beautiful, but at the same time, she was also amiable and approachable. However, through the course of their conversation, he found that Chen Xia might have approached him with an ulterior motive. It was as if she was being enveloped in a dense mist, and no one could see her true nature. Did she really approach me on purpose? How could it be? She's the daughter of the great palace master, and her cultivation is already at the mid-stage of the earth realm. It's quite impossible that she would approach an external student of the school on purpose. Zhang Yuochen lightly shook his head, feeling that he was simply overthinking it. As someone who was regarded as God's favored daughter, very few people could get into her sight. There was no way she would set her sight on a prince from an inferior commandery. It simply could not be due to Huang Yanjun. Now that Chen Xia had known that he had fallen out with Huang Yanjun, how could she still be so kind to him? After all, they were cousins. However, among all the women he had seen so far, it could be said that Chen Xia was indeed one of the women with the best personality. Not only did she have a profound background, she was also very kind and helpful. Her eloquence and elegance were in stark contrast to the capriciousness of other noble ladies. On the contrary, Huang Yanjun did not resemble Chen Xia in any way. She was arrogant and headstrong, and often acted freely without the slightest scruples. Anyone who dared to offend her was digging his own grave. While Zhang Yuochen was secretly comparing Huang Yanchen to Chen Xia, 3 internal students dressed in robes walked up to him. One of them was Zhao Minggong, who was responsible for guarding the gate of Mount Saint Crossing. As soon as Zhao Minggong saw Zhang Yuochen, his face twisted into a cruel expression like a hawk. He pointed a finger at Zhang Yuochen and said, "Senior brother apprentice Zuo, he's the external student that I've told you about." Standing at the forefront was Zuo Lengxuan. He walked up to Zhang Yuochen and stopped 10 steps before him. His eyes carried a nicing air as he said, "I thought who it is. Turns out it's the #1 genius of the Western campus, Zhang Yuochen, who is basking in the limelight recently." Zhao Minggong felt a little surprised and asked, "Senior brother Zuo, do you know him?" "How could I not know him? He's the fiancé of Commandery Princess Yanjun." Zuo Lengxuan sneered and said coldly. Zhao Minggong's face immediately darkened. He simply assumed that Zhang Yuochen was just an external student of the school. He certainly did not expect that he would be the fiancé of Commandery Princess Yanjun. Oh, no. This was really bad. Commandery Princess Yanjun was known to be extremely ruthless. She was even given the title of Devil by the students in the Western campus. If he offended her, he would only end up suffering in the school of the martial market. Besides, Commandery Princess Yanjun and Chen Xia were cousins. It seemed that there was nothing wrong for the fiancé of Commandery Princess Yanjun and Chen Xia to be seen walking together. After all, they would be relatives in the future. The more he thought about it, the more frightened he felt. He wanted to slap himself in the face. How could he do such stupid things? Zuo Lengxuan felt somewhat confused too. He was wondering why Chen Xia and Zhang Yuochen were seen together. He was at Tanayu Tower too when the incident happened. Therefore, he clearly knew that the relationship between Zhang Yuochen and Commandery Princess Yanjun had turned sour when he bid for the best eating company. Since Chen Xia was Huang Yanshen's cousin, she should be hating him too. There was only one plausible explanation for this. Zhang Yuochen must be the root of the problem. Zhang Yuochen, are you trying to impress junior sister apprentice Chen after you've fallen out with Commandery Princess Yanjun? I'm warning you, you'd better leave her alone. Zuo Lengxuan said. From the way he saw it, Commandery Princess Yanjun must have already broken off her engagement with Zhang Yuochen. Zhang Yuochen had no choice but to seek shelter from someone else, so he tried hard to please Chen Xia. Zhang Yuochen said, "So what if I get close to senior sister apprentice Chen? It's none of your business." Also, Who are you? Do we know each other? Zhuo Lengxuan was so enraged by Zhang Yuochen's reply. He was a martial arts master who ranked in the top 50 in the school of the martial market. He was quite famous in the Devil Martial City too. How could Zhang Yuochen not recognize him? He had a feeling that Zhang Yuochen was deliberately humiliating him. Before Zhuo Lengxuan could take any action, Yue Qianfan, who was standing behind him, decided to step out. With a disapproving look on his face, he said, Zhang Yuochen, you're too arrogant. Senior brother apprentice Zhuo was a well-known figure in the school of the martial market. As a disciple of the school, how could you not know him? I'm sorry, I really haven't heard of senior brother apprentice Zhuo's name. Zhang Yuochen refused to continue to bicker with them. He quickly left the place and headed off in the direction of Mount Scent Crossing. His priority was to succeed in his practice of the shadow of the Royal Wind Dragon. Nothing else really mattered to him. Once he achieved that, even if he encountered warriors who were at the completion of the Earth Realm, he could still escape alive. Zhuo Lengxuan's fingers were clenched into a fist. If he could put away his status and reputation, he would surely teach Zhang Yuochen a lesson. After all, he was one of the top 50 masters in the school of the martial market. If the news that he picked on an external student had spread out, it would greatly damage his reputation. Worst of all, he would be despised by Chen Xie as well. However, he did not plan to let this slide. Turning around, he quickly exchanged a glance with Yue Qianfan. Yue Qianfan naturally understood what he meant. Giving a quick nod, he then rushed toward Zhang Yuochen and blocked his way. He smiled sinisterly and said, I've heard that junior brother apprentice Zhang is a once-in-a-lifetime genius. Even Xungihai was defeated in your hands. Do you mind exchanging some martial arts techniques with me? Before Zhang Yuochen could respond, Yue Qianfan leapt into action and slammed his fist toward Zhang Yuochen's abdomen. Obviously, he did not come here to exchange techniques with Zhang Yuochen, but to teach him a lesson. His fist was glowing. A powerful chi billow surged forth ferociously, rolling in waves toward Zhang Yuochen. The white robe on Zhang Yuochen fluttered when the fierce fist wind came sweeping over him. His body flew backward like a fallen leaf that was blown away by the wind. Zhang Yuochen quickly took control of the center of his body mass and raised his hands high above his head as to regain his balance. He controlled Yue Qianfan's fist wind and slowly descended to the ground. He can dodge my punch at such a close distance. It's no wonder that he can defeat Xungihai. He does have some skills. Yue Qianfan's punch did not hit him the first time, so he immediately made a second punch. His fist was as hard as a metal stone. Cracking sounds echoed out as his fist flew past the air. Yue Qianfan's martial cultivation had reached the advanced stage of the Earth Realm. The genuine qi in his body was rich and refined. It came forth endlessly like the water flowing in great rivers. Judging from his strength, he could totally compete with masters at the dawn state of the Earth Realm. He was more powerful than Xungihai, who had just become an internal disciple. Zhang Yuochen did not want to fight head-on with Yue Qianfan. He displayed his footwork by sidestepping and successfully dodged Yue Qianfan's full power blow. How many punches do you think you can dodge? How dare you compete with a warrior at the Earth Realm in terms of speed? You're courting death. Yue Qianfan sneered while twisting and turning his body to speed up. Dashing forward at full speed, he caught up with Zhang Yuochen in an instant. At the same time, he stretched out his 5 fingers and formed a palm print, slashing toward Zhang Yuochen's neck. Yue Qianfan's top speed was 85 meters per second. If his opponent were some other warriors at the completion of the Black Realm, they would be completely crushed in his hands before they could react in time. Just when Yue Qianfan thought that he was about to succeed with this attack, Zhang Yuochen's figure suddenly split up and transformed into 9 figures, darting in 9 different directions. Right after that, these 9 figures turned around and charged toward Yue Qianfan in the reverse direction. Zhang Yuochen was no pushover either. Thus, he decided to strike back, knowing that the other party would not back off. Since you want to fight, let's see whose fist is stronger. At that moment, Chen Xie was standing on a tall tower with her hands clasped behind her back. She had been watching the battle between Yue Qianfan and Zhang Yuochen from a distance. She exclaimed in surprise at the very sight of Zhang Yuochen. bursting into motion at full speed. Shen Xie had known that Zhuo Lengxuan would come here, and thus, she left early on purpose. However, she had not gone far. She had been paying close attention to Zhang Yuochen from the side. She wanted to know what would he do to solve the crisis. Little did she know she would have an unexpected discovery. Zhang Yuochen's burst of speed that she witnessed earlier really surprised her.